everyone, it's Angela Allen. Welcome back to the Handmade Homestead. Today I'm going to show you, by request of one of my subscribers, how I make sourdough crackers. Let's go. Had our first really big frost last night, overnight. It got down to about 31, I think, here in zone 7A, 7B in Rhode Island. Everything looks great. I did cover my celery plants. I did cover my, let's see, a little bit of my kale, just a couple of the plants. Most of the kale wasn't covered, and pretty much all of my Swiss chard I covered. Those are greens we eat regularly. They do really well in cold weather, but the frost can damage the leaves, and the leaves that are there I want to pick for our household use to eat them. So I covered those. The plants themselves would be fine either way. A little bit of my kale, and to be honest, I've had a bunny ravaging my yard, my garden, and I had planted several plants of purple sprouting broccoli. Purple sprouting broccoli you plant now, they overwinter in your garden, and then next around March you're able to harvest all the little broccoli stalks off of them for the table. These are purple sprouting broccoli. They won't be ready until next March. That is cabbage, that row, and then on the other side of it, just on this side of the fence, going all the way down, is broccoli. A really good way to fill that kind of hungry gap time in gardening. But this little bunny saboteur has been eating all of them, and they're down to just like little nubs. And I'll show some footage here so you can see that it's actually kind of funny. Decimated all of my cabbage plants except for one, and they were starting to head up. My carrots are fine, but all of my broccoli, or almost all of my broccoli, all of my cabbage except for maybe one, they haven't bothered. I don't know why. It's the one closest to where they're coming in out of my garden, but for some reason they've ignored that, and now they're munching on my kale. So it's a good thing I have plenty in the freezer. I don't really mind. It's just a Rhode Island brown rabbit, brown hare I think they're called here. I believe they're protected. And frankly, we have so many coyotes on the island now that seeing any small animals like foxes or raccoons or squirrels or skunks, those kind of things, is always nice to see because the coyotes are very predatory. Okay, let's talk about sourdough crackers. Now you can use discard for this, or you can use active bubbly starter. Doesn't matter, it's totally up to you. These crackers are really quick and easy to make. They're kind of a no-brainer. You'll notice, as per usual for me, I don't measure anything. I just put them together. That would be my oven telling me it's preheated. So I preheat my oven to 375. You could do 350, 375. You're going to wash them anyway, just to make sure they don't get too brown. They tend to brown around the edges before the center of the pan. But I'll show you how easy it is, how quick it is. It's why no matter how much sourdough, and I'm full to right here, right now, no matter how much sourdough discard, or how much sourdough I have in my bottle, I never have discard because I use it in crackers, I use it in muffins. I'm going to bake a cake from scratch later. I will film that. But I also sometimes use sourdough in that. Really anything that I'm baking, I will put sourdough starter in just so that it doesn't get wasted. So yeah, let's get going, get these crackers made. You can see how easy it is, and you'll be making your own. Now, if you have sourdough starter that's not quite fermented enough to make bread yet, you can still use it for this. And if it's really, really fermented, or if it's not barely fermented, or If you don't have sourdough and you just want to use a combination of flour and water mixed up to the right consistency for about like pancake batter, that kind of consistency is good. We are going to do mix and pour crackers. No rolling them out and cutting them out, not doing that. I just mix them so I can pour them. I like crackers really, really thin. Does take an extra amount of fat. You can use butter, you can use oil. I'm going to use olive oil today because I'm going to do an herbed cracker. Goes really well with it. This is not a sponsored commercial, but this is my favorite olive oil. I don't know if I could live without it. It's called Part Anna. It is a Sicilian olive oil. It comes from a single producer in Sicily. It is a little bit more expensive, and by a little bit more, I mean this bottle, instead of being, you know, $12 or $13 or $14, it's more like $16 or so, 18 maybe, depends on where you buy it. But it is the best tasting olive oil, in my opinion, ever. It tastes like olives, it tastes fresh, it tastes clean, and it does not have the bitterness that you get from some of the no-name brand oils that you can buy in the store. You know, the ones that you use even a tiny bit in your salad and you cringe because they're so bitter. None of that, none of that. You could drink this stuff out of the bottle, I swear. It tastes so good. I find it on Amazon. You can find it in specialty stores. You can find it in some of the big name brand grocery stores. One of my local ones, Stop and Shop and Shaw's, both do carry it, but someplace like Aldi is not going to carry it. So anyway, it's called Part Anna. So think Part, P-A-R-T, Part Anna is the company that makes it. This is the extra virgin olive oil. They have several grades of it. This one, it's so good. All right, so that's what I'm going to use, but you could use, feel free to use melted butter. If you're doing like a sweeter version, you could use coconut oil, I suppose. Do you, just experiment, cook them low and slow. You're going to cook them for about 10 minutes and then you're going to score them. And then, unless you want to just break them up randomly when they're done, I score them. Yeah, they're super easy. Then you just cook them till they're lightly brown. You take them out, cool them in a cooling rack, and you've got crackers. Super inexpensive, super fast. I put salt in the crackers, but I also put salt on top of the crackers. And this is a kind of salt that you would use. I don't know if you can see that. It's the kind of salt that you would use to top pretzels. It's really big and flaky, and I just sprinkle a little bit on the top of sometimes, depends on the flavor that I'm making. I made bagels for breakfast this morning, just an hour ago. So I am going to reuse the same parchment lined baking pan and parchment paper to make these. So just so you know, so this is just a measuring cup. I'm not measuring, I'm just using it to mix in because it's a good size. So we're gonna start with my sourdough starter. It is bubbly. I don't know if I can show that to you, if you'll be able to see in there, but it is quite bubbly. I'm just gonna pour a bunch in here. And again, I usually use most of my starter. Now in this case, this starter is very young. It's only been going again for a week or two, so. But I'm pouring it in there, and I will give you a closer view of that in just a second. I'm just, whatever's left coating the bottle, that is going to be, and I'm doing this to coat the bottle on purpose, I'm twisting it. Whatever's left in here coating the bottle, that is gonna start my next batch, or my next round of starter. So as you can see, there's very little in there, but that's enough. That's all I need to start another batch. All right, I've been using a coffee filter lid on my sourdough. I don't usually, because I don't want anything sticking to it, but just because it's a new batch of sourdough starter, I wanted to make sure it was getting enough air. All right, so to this, I'm gonna put, let's show you that starter first. I don't know if I pick you up, if you can see in it. So you see it's pretty bubbly for a newer starter, but it's doing okay. All right, so there's our starter. I'm gonna put quite a bit of oil in it. I would put butter. I don't feel like melting butter at the moment. And again, like I said, I'm looking for that oil flavor. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is quite a bit of starter. It's probably, let me see, maybe I can give you a guesstimate. It's about 3 cups of starter. So I'm gonna put maybe a half a cup of oil, something, quite a bit of oil. Now on top of that oil, I'm gonna put a little bit of baking soda.
And I'm doing that because I don't want the baking soda to mix with my starter yet, because the lactic acid in that starter will make it puff up. And I want it to do that before I put it on the thing for crackers, so they'll be lighter. But I don't want to use up that energy right now in the bowl. So I put it on top of the oil. This is just some salt and some herbs. I'm going to put some rosemary in it too. All right, so this is just rosemary. My rosemary jar is getting kind of low. I think I'm going to make some more. Now, you can sprinkle the herbs on top, but I think they tend to get a little burned sometimes, or a little too toasty. So I'm just going to break up that rosemary to release the oils and make it smaller pieces. And I do that pretty well. I do have a mortar and pestle, but I don't want to break it up that much. And this is easy enough for just a batch of crackers. So a little bit of rosemary goes a long way, but yeah, and I don't use garlic, just in case people ask me that all the time. I don't use garlic because I'm not tolerant of garlic. All right, so that's all there is to that. I am going to mix this really well. Now, the longer I mix it, or the better it's mixed, the better the crackers will be. I want this batter very, very liquidy. Not, liquid like water, but much more liquidy than pancake batter or cake batter. I want it even lighter than that. Can you see how thick this is? That is too thick. So what we're going to do is you can add more oil. We can add a little bit of water. We're going to add a little bit of water. Just a little bit at a time till it gets, because I want to be able to run this around on the, you can also use a stick blender for this, which is actually a good idea. A bit of water. If you make it too thin, put a little more flour in. You can put some flour in it, but in this case I don't really need to because I've got the sourdough is pretty thick. Alright. See how it's really pretty loose? That is what I'm looking for, because I want it to pour and move well around my baking dish. All right, let's change cameras. Okay, so I've changed cameras so you can see the angle here, and I am going to just pour some of this out on here in a little strip down the middle. Notice it's not a lot. And I am literally going to play spread the dough without touching it. I want it nice and thin because thinner crackers are always better in my opinion. They also cook evenly if it's thin batter and you spread it out, and I don't have to roll anything. The only issue I ever have with this is the fact that the parchment paper can kind of wrinkle up as it gets wet from the dough. You can see a little bit of that wrinkling right there. I just don't touch it. I ignore it. That's okay with me. I think it's okay. Get that back even, and then we're going to tip it this way a little bit. Takes a few minutes, and when the pan is hot, this is annoying. I have to let the pan cool a little in between, because I can do obviously several batches of crackers this way. So I cover as much of the parchment paper as I can without making the crackers like super thin, but I want them thin like, if you ever had a wheat thin, I'm not sure, I think it may be Nabisco that makes wheat thin crackers. Wheat thin crackers are just about the consistency I'm looking for when these are done baking. So there we go. That's all there is to that. And then a little bit of salt. I don't over salt them because people tend to eat a lot of them. All right. These are going in the oven for about 10 minutes till that surface starts to get a little bit dry. And then I will take a pizza cutter and I will cut it, score it, and then they go back in the oven and then they bake. It may take 12, 15 minutes. Depends on whether you cook them at 375 or 350. You'll notice the edges, those crackers tend to get a little brown faster. Sometimes I will take them out and take off the edge crackers and put the pan back in, but we'll see how it goes. You just play it by ear. So into the oven we go. Now my oven's big enough that I could do a couple of batches at once, but I'm not in a big hurry.
I might do another batch. I have some other pans I could use. That is a bread from the day before yesterday. It's gotten a little bit dry. It's perfectly fine, but it's gotten a little bit dry, so it'll end up being croutons. I've already had it in the oven and dehydrated. My oven will dehydrate as well, so I did that already. Or I might give it to the chickens. Who knows? Depends on. Or it may end up stuffing for Thanksgiving. I'll just put it in the freezer. So we'll see. All right, I'll see you after those are done baking. I want to show you where I cut them. I don't know if you can tell, but they're a little bit puffy. That's from the baking soda. It'll just make for a lighter cracker. Back in they go until they're brown. Single layer while they cool. They're really good. Now if they're sourdough, they're going to have that tangy flavor. If you didn't use sourdough, or your sourdough starter is very young, they're going to taste more like a saltine, but with the herbs and the garlic and a little bit of salt. They're an upscaled saltine, so you should give it a try. And yes, the pan's hot, so I'm going to use pot holders. I definitely prefer cooking them at 350. 375 is a little bit hot, and what happens is the ones on the end will burn, well not burn, but brown a lot faster than the ones that are in the middle, and then I end up having to take the brown ones off and cook the middle ones a little bit longer to make sure they're crispy and not too hard or chewy inside. So yeah, 350 I think works better slow than burned, and you can control it a lot better. You can always cook any that aren't cooked well for a little bit longer in the pan, and I do that sometimes too. So that was 2 pans. 1 pan I've already fed to Mike, and that's another pan, so that's 2. I have 3, 4, 5, and enough for 1 more pan left in the thing. So I'm gonna have made 6 pans like you saw me making of crackers, and those will probably all be gone before bedtime tonight. So it's a great way to use up sourdough starter that you're not going to bake with. You can make them rather quickly to go with a meal. You can make them rather quickly to go with, you know, watching a movie or some other family snack or game night, or even if you have company coming short notice and you're going to do something like farmer's cheese that you've made and some crackers for a quick snack on the table. So give them a try. Let me know what you think and how they come out for you. I would love to hear that.
And this is what happens when you get distracted by a YouTube video when you're making crackers. Nope, these aren't chocolate. These are burned to a crisp. They're crispy, but boy, do they smell nasty. But that's okay. My chickens will love them. Can't be perfect all the time.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy your crackers. If you have any questions or comments, just put them right down below. I do my best to answer every single comment that I get. And yeah, have a good day. Enjoy your crackers, and I will see you in a couple days for the next video. I so appreciate you for being here. Take care.